Hello. In this demonstration we're going to take a look at Dell OpenManage, and we're going to simplify what that means and how Dell customers can use OpenManage solutions to manage their information technology. So if we break it down in its simplest form, Dell OpenManage consists of hardware and software components. Specifically on the hardware side, we have the Lifecycle management controller and we have the Dell remote access controllers. We'll take a look at both. Also on the software side, we have the Dell OpenManage Server Administrator Agent. These three tools are one-to-one tools that customers can use to manage individual devices, specifically servers in this case. However, if customers want to manage these servers in a one-to-many fashion, we also offer what's known as the Dell Management Console. So let's start by looking at the Lifecycle Management Controller. In years past, and even still today, we ship a DVD with every Dell server that we sell, and that DVD is called OpenManage Software. On that DVD, amongst other things, we have the Server Build and Update utility. The Server Build and Update utility, also known as the SBUU, has been available to customers for many years now, and this is a utility customers could use to do a one-to-one OS installation, and that could also assist in building a script to do future OS installations. It's also used to do one-to-one updates of firmware and BIOS. So if you have a given configuration of NIC or track or BIOS or what have you, we can update that firmware as well. Today, though, in our 11th generation of servers, we've put that utility on what's called a Lifecycle Management Controller. So you can do the same things with this controller, and there's no need to use a DVD or a CD or even to find a download on Dell.com. It's just on the motherboard of the server. It's important to note that this Lifecycle controller ships with the firmware necessary to install on a given configuration, but as newer firmware becomes available, it can sync up with Dell.com as well as a local FTP or even a USB device. So the interface for this Lifecycle controller is known as the Unified Server Configurator. If you want to see demonstrations of this interface and what you can do with this, click on the either one of the demonstrations you see below. Moving on from the Lifecycle controller, we also have the Dell Remote Access controllers. Key here is that the DRAC, or Dell Remote Access Controller, is an out-of-band means of communicating with the server. This means that whether there's an OS there or not, whether the OS is functioning or not, we can still communicate directly with the hardware. The iDRAC Express is an embedded component on the motherboard of each server, and this is something that can be accessed through NIC 0 on the motherboard, and this allows for monitoring and alerting via SNMP. So basically the server can let you know if there are any issues with the fans, the hard drives, the network cards, any hardware component inside the server. If we take it a step farther, you can also do have the iDRAC Enterprise. Offers the same level of monitoring and alerting, but with this you also pick up the ability to do virtual console redirection. So you can remote into the server and see the console just the same as you would with a local keyboard monitor mouse. And we can do this remotely via IP. In addition to the console redirection, we've got the ideas of virtual media and virtual flash, and this is the way to remotely access the Lifecycle controller that we saw in the previous section. So if we take a look at the inside of the server, we've got the front of the server at the top here, the rear of the server at the bottom. The iDRAC Express, as we said, is an embedded component on the motherboard. This logs hardware alerts and can send those alerts via SNMP to an email address or even to a central management console, as we'll see later on in the demonstration. And this is also a means of remoting into the server to power it on or power it off. The iDRAC Enterprise is an add-on card, and this card adds the additional functionality of console redirection as well as virtual media. The vFlash slot is simply an SD slot in the iDRAC Enterprise card, or we can put in an SD card to store a bootable utility so that media is actually local to the DRAC. If you'd like to see a demonstration of the interface for the Dell Remote Access Controller, click on the JPEG that you see on the screen now. And just know that this, as well as the other demonstrations we see here, are publicly available on www.delltechcenter.com. Moving on from the Dell Remote Access Controllers, we'll take a look at the Dell OpenManage Server Administrator Agent.
I won't lie to you, Neil. Every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died.
So a little Matrix humor there for you, if anybody's a Matrix fan. The point we want to stress here is that Server Administrator is indeed an agent, so it installs on an operating system, whether it be Linux or Windows. This agent, if the operating system is down, is not accessible. So we want to